Welcome to Retro Upgrade. This time we'll be revisiting my keyboard I designed with PCBWay. They are also today's sponsor for this video. More on them later in the video. So as you probably remember if you saw the last video, I made the keyboard and it worked, but the tactile buttons I chose didn't really work that well. Unfortunately, I can't do anything about that. It has a specific footprint. I'm also checking the long flappy connectors I made. As you can see, they're very flimsy. I have updated the design, or I have an idea how to, and I'll be including these small header pieces as break-off, snap-off connectors in the future revisions, so you don't need to make them yourself. Here are some goodies I got from AliExpress. Some rainbow ribbon cable. This is really flexible compared to the stuff I used, the floppy cable, so that's really stiff, and this is kind of flexible, and you can rip off exactly how much you need. These are the new buttons with approximately the same footprint as the ones I used, but these are quite a bit taller. So the buttons I used at the beginning are 0.3 millimeters tall, and these are 1.5. But I measured and I thought maybe I could get away with that. I also bought a small assortment box of buttons. You can see them here. This is for future projects, and actually this came in quite handy after a while. So these are the buttons I bought, and that what I put on top is one of the old buttons that is too thin. So these are 0.3 millimeters tall. It's missing a Kapton tape push button on top. These are too thin, so when you press down on the membrane, it feels like you're breaking the PCB practically, because you have to press really hard for it to register. These, on the other hand, have a taller button and should work a lot better actually. So I measured the membrane or the rubber mat that has the buttons on for the ZX, and they do have an indent underneath every button, so you have a space for just about 1.5 millimeters tall buttons. Hopefully this works out. Okay, so but these look nice. The footprint is pretty close to the normal footprint, as you can see here. They are a little bit smaller, so I have to help it along. Also, I experimented with some soldering techniques to make it fit, because it won't pull in by itself and center itself. Not really on all the buttons at least, because if you can check here, it actually doesn't reach from one side to the other. In this case, I tried to just smear a lot of solder paste and hope for the best, and it actually worked on the first button, so I was very lucky, I guess. But the buttons have a nice clicky feel to them. I'll play some. Here is the solder paste I'm using, just in case if you're wondering. I bought this in AliExpress and it's pretty good actually. It melts pretty low temperature. Not really what they advertise, but almost 160 degrees or so starts to melt the solder. It says 138, but yeah, my soldering station is kind of crappy, and it does say 300 to 380 on the tin as well, so I really don't know. But this tube actually has way more than you need for about 50 keyboards or so. You don't use a lot at all. And actually I should have gotten a stencil, but yeah, hindsight. Oh well. So I'm putting on some solder paste, way too much in this case. Just plopping down the button, hoping for the best. It actually worked out pretty well from memory. Sorry for the absence. I got a problem with my back, so I went to the doctors and they actually forbid me from going to work, so I'm on sick leave, and I haven't been able to sit down at the computer. I'm getting a little bit better, but I'm still not working yet, so hopefully. Okay, so it's soldered. Looks decent enough. Let's clean off. I see a solder ball, so let's remove that. Yep, there you go. Now a quick word from our sponsor, PCBWay. They are a manufacturer of PCBs and other stuff. They have some great deals. 10 PCBs for $5. I made my keyboard you see here from design to working prototype. And actually with the prototype I managed to find a few flaws in my design, so I'm going to completely rework it and make it a viable product, let's say. I'm also going to give away the plans for it because why not? Open source and stuff. Go visit them now at PCBWay.com and get your new PCBs made. Okay, so let's check for continuity. So I'm first checking for shorts because it has a metal can around it. If it seems fine, doesn't beep. Does it beep when you press the button? It's hard to hold both with one finger, and there we go. Yes, it works. Perfect. Okay. So this should work, so I can actually test it inside the case. But first, some cleanup work. So this has already been fixed in my design. So I didn't find my normal file, so I got my other set out. Flat file, and one of the bottom left holes is a little too small. So I just rip off a little bit. Just put it up here. It doesn't need much, and then it drops in really nicely. There we go. All the other holes seem to be fine. It's just that one that fits really nicely. Okay, so the reason I put it in here is to actually put on the rubber mat on top and check the clicky feel. Just make it seat decently on. So there is a little bit of space for the next revision, so I can actually make it a little thicker. Just trying to get it really seated. It has a satisfying click. I'll bring it over to the microphone so you can hear it. This looks promising. It does have a small issue though. Because of the small bottom footprint, because I was forced to use a footprint I already had printed on them before I order a new batch with the new footprint. The footprint is so small that it actually teeters on the top of it. So you can press the button and it's really nice and clicky in the middle. But if you press a little off center, it goes down without clicking the button. So it's a little bit annoying. So I already found a solution for this. So I was checking my assorted buttons here, and I actually found a button inside this set that is good enough. So I'm just going to pick out one of the normal ones, or the ones that I bought now. These are the footprint that's actually on the board for now. And they are really small. It looks extremely tiny, and they are small, so it's not that it's not small. Now, the ones that I have on the board, or had on the board before, were the ones to the right, but these ones are actually 1.5 millimeters tall, just as the buttons I have ordered, but the footprint is way too big to actually test to solder it on. I will be making a new revision with these because I test them now, and even if you press the button off center, it clicks and it doesn't teeter as much on the top of the button. And it has another bonus. The top of the button is metal as well, so it doesn't melt, because I ended up melting a few tops of the buttons. I had to change some of the buttons out, just because I had to put so much heat into the board, because the footprint is not correct, and I have to keep the button in the molten solder and keep it until it gets soldered on correctly. Here's a little time lapse of me prepping the board and soldering all the buttons on. I tried different approaches. The easiest one seemed to be to put solder paste, melt it, hold the button inside the melted solder paste, and then practically just wait until it solidifies, and then do that for all the buttons. I noticed it was easier if I only put solder paste on one side of the buttons, so I kept doing that and held it inside the molten pool and just let go when it was solidified. This will not be necessary when it's done, because I will use the correct footprint for the correct buttons and it will pull itself to its place, but for now this works. I will also be selling these pre-assembled, and I will probably be ordering these as from PCB assembly as well. Okay, so let's clicking around, feels decent, clicks really nicely. Now I just have to test the thing. So a little bit of ribbon cable, 8 on the first connector. I screwed up with the length, but you will see that in a moment. I can't close the lid, but that's fine for testing purposes. I have enough ribbon, and then a 5 ribbon cable. So I'm not sure on how we're going to fix this with the ribbon cable, because it's a little convoluted to get it in and out, because you have to desolder the connector, otherwise it doesn't fit through the hole. Yeah, it's a mess, but I have a few ideas. I'll have an update video for this when I do the revised design. I'll also show what I changed and what I ordered, and probably do a PCBWay project, so I ordered the boards already and I can show them. Okay, so here we go. Had to improvise here to make it stay on the helping hands, but that works. I soldered on all the wires. This is a time lapse, so it takes a while because it's fiddly work, and I actually don't want to do this a million times. So I'll make a better solution for this. I was thinking of castellated holes, so I can solder it onto the side of the connector, so it doesn't add thickness, and make the connectors 0.6 millimeters tall. That should fix a lot of the issues. Okay, stripping wires. Let's solder it onto these long flimsy connectors. So I was thinking of removing these and having the ribbon cable go inside the keyboard into castellated holes on the inside. So you solder the cable on first and then let it be, because these long connectors are a point of failure, and also they make the board a lot larger than it needs to be, and they charge you for the overall size of the board. So even if you have a long thin strip only, they charge you for the entire thing, so it's going to be a lot cheaper to produce as well. So let's check for shorts. No beeps is good. There we go. Now, okay, let's load up app. I'm using OTLA on the computer. I load up a Spectrum game, Pitfall in this case. So this thing plays sound and sends it through your headphones or whatever, and you hook your headphones to the ear jack on the back and press I think it's J plus 2 quotes, then you press play on this. Warning, this is annoying as hell, but this is what you heard back in the day. so it's loading up the game. It's working really well, actually. Only thing I noticed, you need to remember to have volume at max. Oh yeah, and by the way, ignore the glitching on the capture card. It's because of the upscaler. It doesn't like it when the noise is going in, so it shakes. But this won't happen if you have it hooked up to the TV. The RGB thing is actually working quite nicely. Okay, so, and there we go, Pitfall. So the keyboard works, because I could type on it, obviously. It's a little fiddly to get to work because some of the buttons are not soldered properly because of the wrong footprint, so they are a little iffy and I had to put on too much heat, but it worked. So I'm really happy with the result. And changing the button type to the new revision, this will let me actually have a working mechanical keyboard. So I'm very excited to wait for my next revision, and hopefully this works out in my favor. I got the game to work. Okay, so here you can see the button I chose to replace with, and you can see where the problem is. So when you press the button, it's melted first of all. So this is one of the failed ones I had to take off. And they are the same thickness, but when you press on the small one, it teeters to the left or right and up and down. The big one has a bigger housing and it lets it rest on it, the rubber. Okay, that's all for me for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'll be back soon, hopefully. My back is getting better every day, but hopefully I don't need to be off work anymore so I can do more videos. Have a nice one. See ya. Bye.